Hello and welcome to the weekly chart review. Also going to be diving into some trade ideas, kind of rethinking of renaming the titles of these videos, but for the time being, we'll keep it as reviews. In this video, I'm going to be using the Smart Money Indicator that I did a little bit of a tutorial on earlier this week. Check it out if you haven't yet. I'll throw the link to the video in the description just so you know how to access this. Okay, it's not my indicator, it is a private one. However, once you join that private Discord channel, they give you free access to it as it's a beta test. Okay, so I'm not going to dive into explaining what everything means. Please watch that video to get that instruction. All right, so right now what I see happening is on AUD USD, it's very interesting actually. I would say this looks like a very good entry zone when it's based off of this order block, this institutional sell right here. So a good potential trade idea would be around this zone with a tight stop loss of about 25 pips or so. I wouldn't go much higher than that, just because if it does break structure and go higher than that, the trade would be invalid itself, right? And it would be looking to go to the next zone. But currently, this is looking like a pretty decent trade, going down to the last order block that we had there on the buy. Right, so two potential zones where you could take a buy or a sell. If we look at the EMAs on the 4 hour, the big ones are still pointing down, right? So this is looking like a very strong potential sell in that area. We'll mark it right here, see how that ends up going. Right, like I said, I'm a big fan of going 60 pips if it's structural trades, right? Still end up being almost a 6-to-1, 5.77, nothing to be ashamed of, right? For a potential 346 pip gain. Now, again, when it's all about the structural setup right here, there's really no need to go with a higher stop loss. Maybe even a 30 I'll be comfortable with on that one. So I'll mark this one as blue and continue down. CAD CHF. Pretty crazy what happened here actually. So there's really no structural moves that we have here besides an imbalance. It did drop a lot further down than expected, especially because the Canadian dollar is supposed to be bullish based on what's happening, but very severe reaction that we had over the last several days. Okay, so I'm going to avoid CAD CHF. There's no decent setups to look for. CAD JPY came very close to the entry, and then it just dropped off. Now, the one nice thing about this is when I kept saying about EMA shift, right, I wasn't sure if it was going to hit that zone, and 4-hour EMA shift, so it would have been a little testy to do that one, right? So, and let me show you why. So in this nonsense, this right here at the end of this candle, that would have been the sign for the first shift, right? Because it just crossed over before going back up. The second potential one would have been right at the end of this candle, right? Showing that, hey, you know what? It's definitely on. It wants to go down. But you know what the problem is? Look at this, right? If it would have been taken right at the bottom of that candle, oh, the stop loss is just larger than what I would have in mind, right? Like I was saying, 60 pips. So the only crappy thing about this trade was that it just, like as you see, 63.9, so 64 pips, just a little off of my target for stop loss, right? And then the trouble was once it bounced back up here, I would have considered that a loss. Right? But once it crossed back down, this, it could have taken the loss on the chin the first time. But the second time, I would have just done it right where the tip of that closing candle was, since it was large. Right? And now look, beautiful, beautiful profit. Okay? So could have been a loss, right? A 1-to-1 loss, but now it's a 10-to-1 gain. if jumped in on the correct spot. Now, again, it's incredibly unfortunate, right, that it just decided to bounce around so gross right there. But if I take a look at the 6-hour EMA shift, right, same sort of idea. It would have been at the bottom of this one anyway, so that would have been even closer. Let's see if it goes at 60. Just look at that, 60.7, 62 would have been safe. So either way, guys, like it's just a bit unfortunate, right, that it happened to go up and down like this. It was very choppy, but the move did end up going in the direction where I predicted, right? So, you know, I would say that this overall is still a win and has a potential to go further down. So I'll leave that trade idea up, but I'll unmark it. Okay, CHF JPY, let's see what we have here as far as structure. So a potential for it to come back here before going lower, but as you see, it's very wicky. I don't like pairs like this. It's super choppy, right? You can see that these are just stop hunts. This is what you know, knocks traders out. So CHF JPY definitely does not have an interest of mine right now. So here we go. All right, I've been predicting that EUR, Euro AUD, should be going up until this zone. It's been taking its sweet ass time, that's for sure. All right, just kind of hanging out around this zone, not really wanting to go higher. But I do believe it's going to happen eventually. There's just no decent entry. Like even here, you see it's just all chop. So I'm going to unmark that one. I think it'll take a while for that to get reached. Euro CAD, very nicely done here. You know, trade idea. Where was that popped in on? Last Sunday. I believe I said taking it on the open, right? Well, either way, it's up 5-1. Oh, pardon me. It's up 5-1, so decent trade right there. You know, ended up working out. We'll see where final target is going to be going. I don't see any sort of trade setups going right now, so I'll just click that one off. And, you know, climbing right here to that potential zone might take a couple more weeks. And if it happens sometime this week, that's even better. You know, all CAD data is coming in too, so that could really cause a bearish reaction as soon as it reaches that level. So alert is set, and we'll see what happens. Euro CHF, just a big M, right, that we see there, an imbalance that formed, potential to go here from an order block. I have a feeling it's going to go a little deeper. All right, there's nothing really showing that Euro wants to be bullish at this point in time, right? Potential target right there, but this sharp reversal tells me that it just wants to drop even further. So we'll see where that ends up going. I'm not interested in this pair at this point. Euro GBP, super choppy. Everything's just kind of going sideways. Not huge moves by any means, but it's just, you know, it's still staying within the zone. I would say, you know, as everything's been going, Euro has the potential to just bounce up slightly and drop. I'm not really seeing a good entry right here for a trade, though. Euro JPY, this might turn out very well, actually. Let's see. As far as rejection points, all these wicks have been rejecting off of structural support right there. Potential to go lower to this entry zone for the short term. Yeah, this might actually be a pretty good entry area right there. All the way to the bottom. Yeah, we're still looking 60 pips, you know, so even 55 right here would be a pretty decent ratio. Going up right here to the white line. You know, even closing off this imbalance gap. Potential 8.75 to 1. That's not too bad, so we'll see how that one works out. And judging on the long term, this should be going up. Right now, the last time it rejected off that black line, it could happen once again where it just shoots through the brown and bounces off of that. So we'll keep an eye on it. Let's see how the 1 hour looks like for the same zone. Oh, very close, right? I mean, right here on the 1 hour, it's the very similar to what we saw on the 4. Here's another zone right there. It looks pretty messy, to be honest with you. I think the 4 hour is a little tighter and shows stronger entry. Right, even here, like you saw, the 50%, boom, hit it, up it went. Right, that's the perfect zone. So this actually order block, I believe, is in the wrong spot. It should be right here on those two candles. It's not perfect, right? Like, it's still a beta, guys, I want to tell you, but for the most part, it gives you the right idea. Okay. So yeah, I would say that's a pretty decent area for entry. Euro NZD, not interested in NZD pairs. Euro USD. Where are you going? Oh, you see, this was a nice entry right here, right from the bottom. It wicked into that zone. Trouble was that it didn't hit that 50%. However, if we just draw up and see what the distance of this entire thing was, about 50 pips. So definitely reasonable, even take it right on the top there to the bottom of that zone. That would have been a nice entry. But this one, I believe, is going to be even better right here. This is what I think we're going to be closing in on the way down. However, judging that euro is temporarily strong, let's see how this looks like on the daily, if it's going to be climbing anywhere. Right? And yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking too. Somewhere around this zone for it to go before USD ends up continuing on its bearish route. Well, not bearish. Bullish for the USD, but bearish for this pair. All right, so I would say here, around that area, decent stop loss. How much will we have? 60? Oh, just above. Perfect. Right there and going lower. So this will be more of a long-term trade. Could last into the new year, potentially. But yeah, I can definitely see that happening, guys. This will be dropping. I'm going to keep an eye on this one. Very interested in this trade. Even I'll set an alert right now. Crossing value, Euro USD, entering sell zone. That's all I need for now. All right. GBP AUD. Now it's still continuing, so let it go from that trade idea. It's just been a while now. I don't like sitting in trades for a very long time, but I mean a 32-to-1 risk-to-reward ratio is pretty intense. So I think it's just going to take some time for it to get there. Now, as you see on the daily, it finally shuffled its EMA down, right? But now on the 4 hour, it's just a bunch of chop. I still think that this is going to drop. So, you know, even if it does come up to there, you know, potential take another entry and take it from that zone. So right now, like I said, I'm going to leave it from where it was on the first EMA shift on the 4 hour here, and then the drop that continued, right? If an exit were to be taken, this would have been the point, right? Like I said, probably at the end of that candle for a 250 pip gain, so that's still a 4-to-1, right? And then just being out of this chop. GBP CAD, nothing really of interest here for me. Just waiting for it to get to that zone. I do believe CAD will be stronger than the pound, but that's more in the long term. GBP CHF, oh, very nice. It could potentially bounce off of this in the short term. Let's see how that trade idea goes from right there, going up to its previous high. And again, tight, only maybe a 30 pip stop loss. Just because if it goes lower than that, then it's going to break structure and drop even lower. I would do 30 pip at maybe half the normal lot size, right, rather than 60. And then if it does go lower, then this will be my target for entry. But as it's happening right now, Yeah, overall CHF is much, much stronger than the pound. I have a feeling this was its rejection point, right? As you can see here even, I'll draw it up on the 4-hour, right? So right here, this giant institutional play, right? Here we go. That was the rejection for the buy, right? So it's too bad. Like, I'm not really catching every single play lately, and at the same time, this was very deep, right? I'm not about to have a 270 pip stop loss, right? But risking possibly 60 pips from that middle would have been pretty good. And so far, you know, if I would have taken that, that would have paid off immensely. Like 800 pips up in 2 to 3 weeks, not too shabby. Okay. So yeah, I'm expecting still movement upwards. Let's see on a Fibonacci level what that looks like from a high to the low, right? So we can see the first one right here was a 328. If we go all the way to the top, it's sitting at that 328 right now. But what I'm going off is the first peak before pullback. So we go from that low to this high. And as you see, it's kind of lining up. It's in the golden zone. Whether or not it actually gets that low, who knows, right? We'll end up seeing how that turns out. GBP, JPY, a bit of a bummer. That didn't work out as planned, so I'll just get rid of that trade idea. I still think that this is going to go up overall, right? You saw that institutional play right here. This is where it rejected from. So this might be, if we take a fib and go from here to here, right, almost at that 50%. So it's very likely that that could be a rejection zone, but I'm not really interested in this pair right now. GBP USD, too bad it did not, it closed that gap and kept going. So trade idea is invalid. The next stop was right here where it's a volume profile and is showing the area of interest right here, the point of control. It just closed above it now. My area of interest will be right here where these wicks made those highs, so I'm just going to draw that line. Potential sell to happen off that, you know, and again, make it tight about 30 pips. If it goes higher, then it goes higher. It's going to break through that, right? There's really nothing stopping it to go back up. But taking it right here, still trending down on the long term, taking it right here to where there's a order block, not too shabby for a 16 to 1 gain. So we'll leave it there, see how that trade idea fares. Oil, oil, oil. Right? Lovely move right there. That was just too pretty. I did mention that at the beginning of last week, I believe. No, end of last week. I'm expecting a rejection to happen once again. And sure enough, it kind of made a double top, actually. A little bit higher than the previous one. However, you know, from that move and then EMA shift, I wouldn't be expecting to grab that right off the cusp. So getting it somewhere around there would have been much better, right? The only crappy thing is those very chunky EMAs. Or not EMAs, sorry, those very chunky wicks, the ones that really go up pretty high. But again, I was risky on this one. It wasn't even a full dollar, right? So even if I go full dollar, that would have been much better. Grabbing it as it dropped on that EMA, that would have been really nice. Okay, so there's that. USD CAD, you know, nothing we can see in the long term of interest at this point. CAD is faring stronger than the USD in the short term. Its last low right here to the high. So you can see where it's dropping right now. It's sitting in the golden zone. 786 is the perfect spot right here to reject. Which, I mean, if it follows NASDAQ and USD ends up going up while everything else drops, that would be a great point of entry there. But I'm not entirely certain of this one just yet, so I'm going to leave it alone. Finally, you know what? Let's jump on USD JPY. and the moves that happened here were very sharp, right? I still believe that it's going to be going up. There's too many areas of interest right here. The one that I would say would not be there actually, I would see, and again, this is what I'm saying, beta is a beta after all. Okay, so what I'd be looking for is actually this one. Okay, this is the entry that I'd be looking for right here. Okay, and I'll draw that up here and make that white. Now the reason I say that is because look at all the moves that ended up happening, come back to that area, kind of closing off that imbalance, right? So if we take a fib and draw it from this low to this high right here, you can see reversal in the golden zone, up it went. Okay, and then even on the short term, right, just going from here to its little high, look at that. It hit that golden zone right on the 618 and up it goes. So that is what indicated for me that this is, what do I want to call it, the order block, all right, the institutional buy, right? If it doesn't go that low, then the only other spot that I can see, because this one got closed off, that's about 50% there. All right, the only other one I could see would have been this potential, but I mean, it already broke through that. So not to say it's not going to make it back up there, but yeah, there's too many potentials for it to reverse off of. This is one that I'd be looking for an EMA shift. All right, EMA shift would be the safest bet to take the buy, and you know, maybe even risking it on the 1 hour as far as an EMA shift is concerned. Let's see, all the way on the bottom, there's really nothing down here, right? All the ones are up here on a sell. I don't think it goes back that far on the 1 hour anyway. But yeah, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's still going to be dropping short term. You can see there's really no, there was a little bit of a pullback there, but as went on every USD pair that we saw, USD CAD, AUD USD, it all pulled up and then started dropping even further. Okay, I do believe it's going to go a little lower before USD finally rejects and starts climbing. But let's take a look at the DXY as an example. Okay, many potential areas for it to hit. It's dropped pretty significantly since the end of September. And let's see how pairs have played off that, right? So end of September, JPY. This was end of October, right? So USD still kept climbing because end of September was around here, right? So even as DXY peaked, right? Even as DXY peaked, the rest of the currencies were still weaker than the US. So it doesn't really go to show you that, you know, they all follow each other's structure. USD was high on the 28th, and as it was dropping, it was still climbing against other currencies. So yeah, I do believe that this will fare rejection soon. Let's see what it looks like on the daily. Look at this. There we go. Yeah, that would make sense. Look, right on the golden Fibonacci line right here. Could potentially drop to there, or maybe just reject off that purple EMA. Hard to say. I don't know if it's going to drop to 98 right here. If it breaks through this area, that's definitely a potential. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of the ideas and the reviews for Forex, guys. So I hope that's been helpful. And if there's anything you want me to dive into specifically, just leave a message in the comments, and I'll make sure to read them and jump on them next week. All right? All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Happy trading.